Topuria versus Oliveira and Pantoja versus Cara France. Two great title fights coming for you this weekend at UFC 317. First fight on this loaded pay-per-view, we have Peyton Talbot and Felipe Lima. This is an interesting fight. So Lima comes in the favorite, and he's coming off of 14 straight victories. He is 2-0 in the UFC and is actually dropping down in weight class from featherweight to bantamweight to face off against Talbot here. Now, what's interesting about Lima and Talbot when we look at this tail of the tape is Talbot is taller by 4 inches, and he outreaches Lima by 2.5. Now, where Lima seems to have the advantage is going to be on the ground. So he won his first fight in the UFC by submission. That said, Talbot can probably hold his own on the ground in this fight here. He actually has a submission victory 4 fights back. So the story with Talbot is he lost his last fight, and I think that's why he's coming in here as the underdog. But before that, had rattled off a pretty significant win streak of his own, actually winning those last 3 fights all by finish. So he had that submission and then back-to-back knockouts. Unfortunately, his last time out, he lost by decision. And again, I think that's why he's the underdog here. But when I priced this fight out, I thought Talbot might be a slight favorite, and I look at the odds, I see him at plus 170, and that's where my best bet is going, and I am going to have to take Peyton Talbot here. I really like what he's done in his career. I think this is a step up in competition for Lima. Not only that, he's coming down in weight, which can make for a pretty difficult weight cut. And then we look at this tail of the tape. Talbot is 5'10 versus Lima's 5'6, and he's got that 70.5-inch reach versus Lima's 68-inch reach. My only worry with Talbot here is if Lima can go down to the ground and control the fight from there. But again, I think Talbot might be able to hold his own against Lima. So again, we're going to go best bet Peyton Talbot to win at plus 170. As we look to the next fight, I think this has a contender to be fight of the night. So if you have a sportsbook that will let you bet on that, I've seen it at MGM sometimes. It's going to be Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. This fight is going to be spectacular. We have 2 UFC veterans who really know how to bring it. Dariush comes in here, and you can see he's the underdog, and I think that just comes from his last 2 fights where he got knocked out. Now, he got knocked out by some great fighters, including Oliveira, who's here at the top of this card. Before that, he had rattled off a 8-fight win streak all in the UFC. That is very hard to do. He's a very, very talented fighter. Now, on the other side, he goes up against Renato Moicano. So he also lost his last fight by submission. I'm not too worried about that. He was headlining against Islam Makhachev, and we all know how good he is. So not too worried about that. Previously, he actually had finished his last 2 fights by knockout. So my best bet here, and we do have another best bet here, is going to be on Moicano to win at minus 120. When I looked at this, I was thinking he was going to be probably more around minus 150. So you are getting a little bit of value here at that minus 120. Now, I also have a long shot of the night on this fight. So I think Moicano is going to win, but I also think he might win this fight by knockout. And this is priced right now at plus 500 at most places that I can see. So why do I want to go down that route? So Moicano won his last 2 fights, his last 2 wins, I should say, were both by knockout against Benoit St. Denis and Jalen Turner. And then we look on the other side, Dariush has been knocked out 2 times in a row. And a lot of times when guys are getting closer to the end of their careers in the UFC, you can see some knockouts start to pile up against them. And I think we could see that here. I think Moicano is going to look to finish this fight, and I think he may look to finish this one by knockout. Even if it goes to the ground, I'd look to him to get into more of a ground and pound as opposed to going for that submission. So again, we're going to go best bet Moicano to win, minus 120, And we're also going to go a long shot of the night, Moicano to win by knockout plus 500. Next up, we have Brandon Royval and Joshua Vaughn. Vaughn actually fought earlier this month on June 7th, that O'Malley-Valashvili card, UFC 316, where he dominated Bruno Silva and ended up closing the show in round 3 with a TKO. This is a big step up in competition and a very, very quick turnaround for the young 23-year-old. Now, he has looked incredibly impressive. So he's going up against Brandon Royval. So he is 4-1 in his last 5, and his only loss is to Pantoja. So when I look at this fight I think is going to be spectacular. I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch. I cannot see a world where I'm going to end up betting on this thing. So first of all, they're flyweights. Yes, Vaughn finished the fight last time, and really both of these guys have the ability to finish fights, but to bet an under when these guys are only weighing 125 pounds, that is tough to do for me. And then on the other side, I don't really see a clear indicator that one guy should win. So again, this is going to be a really close fight between Royval and Vaughn. I'm going to go with an official prediction of Brandon Royval over Joshua Vaughn. Vaughn, this is not taking anything away from him. I think he's going to have a great career in the UFC. I just think fighting twice in a month is a lot to ask. And then you look at Royval, he's got that experience against those top fighters. He's coming off a good amount of rest. He's very mature as a fighter, and I think he's going to do a good job in this fight. And Vaughn is going to learn a lot from this fight. I'm going to go Royval to win, but again, no best bet. I think this is truly a coin flip and going to be a great fight to watch. We head to the co-main event with Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Kara France, and Pantoja comes in as a big minus 245 favorite. And I think that's probably a good number there. I would not bet on Pantoja at minus 245. I think he should probably be around that number, minus 200 to minus 250. So you're not getting a ton of good value at minus 245. When we look at his opponent, so let's look at his opponent first. Kara France has only won once in his last 3 times out. And now his last fight was a win, but before that he had back-to-back losses. And he can look really good. You know, he's got good wins in his career. A knockout over Cody Garbrandt, Steve Erceg in his last fight. He looked great. But you're going up against a guy in Pantoja who has been absolutely dominant, rattling off 7 straight wins. And now he has the ability to finish fights, which you don't see a lot of in this weight class at that flyweight region like we were talking about before. I'm not necessarily picking him to win by knockout. I'm not necessarily picking him to win by submission, but we are going to have a best bet on Pantoja to get the finish. And in those 7 straight victories, he has 3 by submission. Now, submission is priced at plus 200. Kara France is going to probably try to keep this on the feet as much as possible, which is why I don't want to go straight here with the submission, because Pantoja definitely has the ability to score knockouts. He has 8 in his career versus those 11 submissions in his career. So to me, the best bet here is Pantoja to win by finish. So that's going to be either knockout or submission over Kai Kara France in the co-main event, and he will maintain his flyweight championship belt. Finally, the main event of the evening, Ilia Topuria versus Charles do Bronx Oliveira. I love Oliveira. He is a fan favorite, rightfully so. Everybody loves watching him fight. I'm just going to get right to it with the prediction here. I think Topuria is just too much to handle. Topuria comes in 16-0 in his career. The only worry I have about him is that he's going up in weight class for this fight to the lightweight division. So this fight is going to be at 155. Topuria has been absolutely dominant at the 145 weight class, and he has some pretty serious knockout victories over Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski in his last 2 fights. These 2 guys are clear UFC Hall of Famers, and Topuria was able to knock both of them out. Now, I think that is probably going to be the case again here. The way I see it, it should be priced around -150, and everywhere I'm seeing it's between -150 and -160. There's just not a ton of value there. I tend to agree with the sportsbooks on this one. I think they have this priced exactly right. So we're going to go no best bet, but Topuria to win the lightweight title. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really looking forward to this card. UFC 317 coming your way on Saturday night. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and drop a comment below on what your best bets for this weekend are. Until next time, remember to bet smart and lift heavy.